Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Unscripted Ramblings. Finally, the time's come. I'm so sorry it took this long, but I am here and this is it. This is the Avengers Endgame spoiler discussion from me, my review, everything filled with spoilers, all my thoughts, all my little tidbits. Very excited to finally sit down and do this. I've seen the movie 5 times now. 5 times. So I'm very much well prepared. So if I do forget anything, feel free to, blast me in the comments below. I would not blame you. But anyway, so if you watched my little previous video I did a couple of weeks ago, that was a spoiler-free reaction that somehow managed to go for 7 minutes, even though you can't really talk about the movie too much without spoiling it. I managed to make it last 7 minutes, so let's see how long this goes. But I'm excited. This is going to be good. I'm always excited. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's the end of a freaking era, if there ever was one. So here we go. Yeah, okay, so the movie is just perfect, really, for lack of a better term. I can't believe how perfect it was. They nailed everything. They exceeded expectations, and I can't even deal with it mostly. I'm still really processing it. I've seen it 5 times. I just keep needing to relive everything that happened. So, yeah, I should have probably rewatched my trailer speculatory video of mine before, because I can't remember everything I said from that, but I'm fairly certain I did say Captain Marvel was going to be the one to save Tony Stark and Nebula from space. So if I'm right, if I was right about that, then props to me. Good job, I guess. I mean, it was going to be that, or there was that theory about it being Pepper Potts. Because he's like, 0 chance of rescue, hint, hint, rescue is her, suited up alter ego. But, we got to see that later on in the movie, so that was awesome. Yeah, Captain Marvel saved Tony and Nebula, and oh boy, yeah, really good way to start the film. I love I don't know how to really just kind of do this without talking about every single scene, because I just kind of want to talk about every single scene in this thing, because it's just wonderful. But yeah, I'm just going to skim over it, and then I'm just going to go back and try and analyze it a bit better. Yeah, so they, Tony and Nebula get back to Earth, and then they're all like, well, we need to kill Thanos. We need to bring everyone back. So with Captain Marvel's help, they end up going to space and killing Thanos, but he's already destroyed all of the stones. He has used the stones to destroy the stones, nearly killed them, as he says in the movie, and yeah, things look pretty bleak for our heroes. It's not great. And then we get a time jump of 5 freaking years. 5 years. I've seen the movie 5 times. They jumped ahead 5 years. There's a pattern happening. But yeah, 5-year time jump. We all knew there was going to be a time jump. It was so obvious. Mostly just because of Natasha Romanoff's hair, how it keeps changing from, the short blonde to this medium blonde in a braid to just the balayage almost, because her natural red is growing through and the blonde's at the ends, and it looks super cool. And I wanted to do that to my hair once, but the hairdresser was like, no, the hair will run. The colours will run together and it won't look good. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. Anyway, just a little side note on that one. Yeah, and even in the trailers, the shots of Natasha with the shortish, the longer blonde hair that's slightly longer than her bob kind of she had in Infinity War. Those scenes weren't even, the scene of her shooting the gun off, that wasn't even in the movie at all. That was a complete misdirect. But the scenes of her, you know, standing in the rain holding the umbrella, we all figured she was there talking to Clint, but they gave her blonde hair for those clips in the trailer. In the movie, she's got the red hair, like, so just lots of little itty bitty bits going on there. Yeah, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that originally, but here we are. Oh, it's good. Yes, 5-year time jump. 5 years. Yeah, and it's just insane. You know, we don't really get too much of a look into what the world at large is like post the decimation. All we really see is, you know, kind of where all our heroes end up and how the snap has affected them, which I'll go into a bit more later. But yeah, and I don't know, it's really bleak and, you know, hopeless and stuff. Yeah, just... And then, you know, Paul Rudd saves the day, which is fantastic. Well, or should we say the rat who crawled over the console in Luis's van that brought Paul Rudd / Scott Lang / Ant-Man out of the quantum realm, and, you know, kickstart the main plot of the story of the film, which is time travel, because the 5 years that Scott Lang was disappeared for, like he'd vanished for, they all thought that he was, you know, snapped away, of course, dusted with everybody else, but nope, he's still alive. And the 5 years outside, for him on the inside of the quantum realm, was only 5 hours. So he's just immediately like, okay, we can make time travel a thing. You know, he goes to Natasha and Steve and it's just like, yep, let's, you know, this is definitely possible. If we can figure this out, we can fix everything, bring everyone back. So, you know, and then with Tony Stark's help, he invents time travel, because of course he does, because it's Tony freaking Stark. And yeah, and then the guys, they all band together, all the team bands together, they all time travel back to certain time periods that they know where certain Infinity Stones are located. So we have, let's see, Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Scott Lang, and Smart Hulk, which was awesome. I love Smart Hulk. They all go back to the events of the first Avengers film, the Battle of New York in 2012, because there are 3 stones in New York at that time. There's the Eye of Agamotto, so that's Time Stone, Loki's Scepter has the Mind Stone in it, and of course the Tesseract has the Space Stone in it. So they've gone back to get that, and then bloody Thor and Rocket have gone to Asgard in 2013 to the events of Thor: The Dark World. I love the fact that this movie made Thor: The Dark World relevant. Like, so much. Thank you very much for doing that, Marvel Studios. Or Marcus and McFeely. I should probably thank the writers of this, because, you know, all hail them, because those men are gods. And then Rhodey, Nebula, Clint, and Natasha all travel to Morag in 2014 to the events of Guardians of the Galaxy #1. And then Clint and Natasha go off to, you know, get the Soul Stone on Vormir, which is just great because, you know, we know that's not going to end well, but they don't know that. And a lot of people have been talking to me, and I keep having to explain, like, defend Nebula, because, like, everyone's like, oh, Nebula knew that, you know, that one of them would have to die to get it because blah, blah, blah. But no, she never actually says, because they're not dumb. Marvel Studios are not dumb. Marcus and McFeely, the Russo brothers, they're not that dumb. So they wouldn't be like, you know, if Nebula knew that sacrificing that which you love, as the Red Skull says, would, you know, is the way to get the Soul Stone, she wouldn't have, like, they would, like, how do you even have that conversation in the movie? And, like, it had to happen organically. Like, they had to just go there and find out, because all she knew and all she says that she knows is that, you know, Thanos took Gamora there to get the Soul Stone, and she died, and he killed her. No, they don't know any kind of context for how it happened. So, yeah, Nebula didn't know. It just, you know, had to be written that way that Clint and Natasha would end up on Vormir, in one of the most heartbreaking and beautiful scenes in the entire film. That made me cry quite a lot. Ugh, yeah, it's emotional. But, you know, we'll get into that later on as well. Yeah, so everyone gets the stone successfully, but however, things go a little awry in New York. They end up having to go back even further to 1970 at Camp Lehigh, New Jersey. That's Tony and Steve have to go back, get the Tesseract from there and some more pin particles so they can time travel again. So that is successful, and then, you know, but then the other hitch, the slightly bigger hitch, is the fact that because Nebula, and they didn't know this was going to happen either, like otherwise they probably wouldn't have, well, otherwise they would not have sent Nebula back to 2014, you know, on Morag of all places. Her past self and her present self are sharing the same network, so they're connected, they're sharing the same consciousness, kind of, you know, well, network is the appropriate word. So basically, that's how Thanos from 2014 finds out that the Avengers are trying to get all the stones and use them against him, and he's like, well, he figures out pretty quickly that, you know, because we've seen him watch Nebula's memories, like future Nebula's memories of, you know, the Nebula that he knows, like, that hasn't experienced that yet. It's so, time travel is confusing. Yeah, it's great. So then, yeah, he wants to, you know, put a stop to it. And Nebula, because Nebula in 2014 just wants nothing more than to please Thanos, please her father, because she's just been conditioned that way and tortured and just, yeah, we all know Nebula's backstory. It's not a fun one. So she decides to trade places with 2023 Nebula after they kidnap her, and she ends up getting back to 2023 when everyone arrives back with all the stones. And then somehow, so the confusing part for me was somehow Nebula from, you know, bad Nebula basically was able to bring forth Thanos from 2014, and I think what happened was the fact that like you see her give him pin particles in that scene when, you know, she's like, how do I look? You know, she passes him pin particles. So I'm thinking they might, I don't know, unless it's so tricky. Like, I don't know how they would have used the pin particles to bring the sanctuary forward, but then she could have just been showing him the pin particles and like, hello father, this is how we time travel. And then, yeah, because we see her when she's in 2023, she locks on to, you know, 2014 and somehow manages to lock onto Thanos' location, and using her end of the time, you know, the quantum realm portal that, you know, they've constructed, basically is able to lock onto him and bring him his ship, the Sanctuary 2, and all the armies contained within to the present, which is now 2023. So yeah, I guess that's, you kind of just have to overlook, if you kind of look too far into it, it just kind of gets a bit like, oh, it doesn't matter, because I mean, I think I kind of just explained it a little bit. I mean, you kind of have to reconcile things when time travel is involved and just go with it, especially if it's only a tiny, insignificant little detail like that. It's not really a huge deal. Yeah, so then that's basically where the battle begins, because not long after they, you know, arrive back in 2023 with all of the stones and mourn the loss of Natasha Romanoff, they construct the Iron Gauntlet, and put all the stones on there, and Hulk then brings everybody back. And just as we're about to celebrate and with joy and glee because everything's great again, Thanos blasts Avengers HQ to Kingdom Come, and then just the most epic battle you will ever see in a superhero and the most superhero movie, the most satisfying battle you'll ever see. Just, I can't, just how good it was, I really do struggle to put it into words, because I'm still trying to believe that that's what happened and that's what I saw, because it's just beyond any of your wildest dreams or imaginations. Like, I remember losing it over in Civil War. Like, my favorite part in Civil War is the airport battle, and I remember just watching that happen and being like, holy shit, our heroes are fighting, but at the same time, holy shit, this looks fucking amazing. But and then the giant man scene with, you know, Spider-Man, just, you know, you ever seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back? It's still my favorite thing in Civil War, but I just remember seeing that and turning to a friend and just going, what the hell are we watching? Is this even happening right now? Imagine that then, but just amplified by like 50, is how Avengers Endgame made me feel. The entire, like, battle scene, just, I get chills. It's just beyond everything we could have hoped for. And I will talk more about that as well later on when I dissect a bit deeper. But yeah, the movie ends very fucking sadly. But Thanos is defeated. Thank goodness. No more. He is wiped from existence after Tony Stark snaps his fingers and sadly dies in the process. Very fucking sadly dies. God. It's, yeah. But I mean, for all the characters to, you know, that they could have killed off, Black Widow was a surprise, but Tony Stark was, you know, a lot of people were expecting it. I thought it was going to be Captain America, but I'm really glad it was, like, I'm not glad that Tony Stark's dead, but I'm glad it was Tony over Cap, because the way they did it, and just, it makes more sense for his character arc to go from where he started as the, you know, the genius billionaire playboy philanthropist that we knew him as when we first met him, to go through everything he went through and then to end up, you know, making the sacrifice play, as Captain America says, is just, you know, just perfect storytelling, really. So, yeah, but fucking sad. I literally spend, like, the last 20 minutes of this movie just crying, like, just buckets of tears. Like, I've stopped wearing makeup at all just going to watch this movie, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like when I'm here in my house and I'm watching the Blu-ray when that comes out later this year, and just, I'm not going to be able to control the sobs, because in the cinema I'm crying and I'm like holding my lips shut, like squeezing them shut, and like holding on, like I can't, like it's so hard not to cry. Yeah, I even tried, like, the last time I watched it, number 5, which was about a week ago now, I sat there and I just was like, okay, let's see if I can do this and not cry. Not a chance. Not a fucking chance. As soon as Peter Parker starts talking, he just makes me cry. Tom Holland, you make me cry. Oh. First in Infinity War and now in Endgame, when you're saying goodbye to Tony, it's just emotional. And that entire funeral sequence just ends me. Really does. But nevertheless, you know, the heroes win. Heroes save the day. And Steve Rogers also gets a happy ending that he deserves. He finally, after a life of service, Cap gets to go and live the life he's always dreamed but never could have with his one true love, Peggy Carter. And that was a really nice way to end the movie. Yeah, just perfect. Absolutely perfect. So let's dive in a bit deeper then. I kind of wanted to start by looking at, since this film is really just saying goodbye to the original 6 Avengers, I kind of wanted to sit down and take a look at where the original 6 kind of end up by the time the movie's done. So, I have notes here, you can turn the page. Yeah, good place to start would be Clint Barton, considering he opens the movie. And I freaking called it. I freaking knew that movie, Endgame, was gonna open with us seeing his family die. I mean, we don't really see them turn to dust, but we see, we know they have, and we see, his oldest daughter, who is teaching how to like shoot arrows. That's so adorable. We see her dust kind of float away. Yeah, which is just powerful stuff. But yeah, Clint Barton is, we had to see that because we knew he was becoming Ronin for this film. They showed it in the trailers. We knew, I think it was reported, months before the film came out that this was going to happen because, Jeremy Renner was sharing behind the scenes photos of, this new haircut and kind of a new look for Hawkeye. So a lot of people were like, okay, things are going to get dark. Yeah, so he is not really, he goes from being, family man, the dad, being okay, not being an Avenger anymore, on house arrest because of the Sokovia Accords, to just, losing his family and then spending the 5 years going around killing criminals. I really like the line he says to, I'm guessing they're Yakuza because, it's Japan, so why not? One of the Yakuza guys he's trying to kill, he's like, they as in everyone that dusted, got Thanos, and he says, you get me, as like an agent of death type feel, and I just thought that was really cool. It was really good to see Clint, stretch his action heavy legs, I suppose. He gets a lot to do in this, a lot of fight scenes, and it's just really nice to see Jeremy Renner front and center a bit more, because out of all the six, he's probably the one that's unfortunately had the least amount of screen time, but that's just the way it's gone. But every scene he's in is always fantastic. Like, he's a very talented man and needs more recognition, I think. But yeah, so he's just in a really, really bad place. But he ends the movie in, not the best place, but a better place, because, he gets his family back, because everyone gets brought back after the decimation. But, he's lost Natasha in the process. And that's really tough. That is really, really tough. The fact that, he got his family back, but he lost his best friend, and this one person he could always count on no matter what. They had each other's six the whole time. It would have been cool if we could have seen Natasha doing a bit more saving of Clint. I think that's the only thing about the Natasha and Clint reunion, when she goes to recruit him for the time travel adventure, the time heist, as Ant-Man calls it. I would have preferred something a bit more from her to be like, it was a great scene, but we all know that Clint was sent to kill Natasha many moons ago, and he refused. So, and he took her under his wing, and she became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and turned her life around and spent, the last years of her life trying to just make up for the red in her ledger. She wanted a clean slate. She wanted to make everything right, obviously there would have been a big fight when Clint, initially met Natasha, trying, and just like a struggle of trying to save her and bring her, into the light, essentially. And then in this movie, we just kind of get, I feel like they could have done a really good role reversal. It's kind of fine that they didn't anyway, because, like I said, the scene we get is still really good, but, we didn't actually see, Clint saved Natasha, so it's not like we're making direct references, but yeah, if she'd maybe jumped in and helped, like, that scene in Civil War where, Steve's just trying to save Bucky, because he's always trying to save Bucky, but Bucky's like, he's fighting for himself. He's like, these people are here to get me. I'm not going to let them get me. And, that whole first fight scene when, the German police are trying to get him, or I don't think it's German. Oh, I think they're German, but I don't think they were in Germany. They're in Romania, maybe. I've forgotten the name of the country. Anyway, but basically what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, that, you know, why couldn't we have had a scene more like that where, you know, Natasha comes in trying to save Clint from, you know, the path he's, you know, taken, and bring him back, and see, you know, them both fighting alongside each other but against each other at the same time. Like, that would have been really interesting. But I guess in a 3-hour movie they probably didn't have time for that, because there's already a lot going on. But yeah, so Clint's really just struggling with dealing with, you know, losing Natasha by the time the film's done, and maybe we'll see some more of that explored in his series, because he's getting a series on Disney Plus, Hawkeye is, so, but then the rumours are pointing towards it's more going to be about Kate Bishop becoming Hawkeye and taking over from him, taking the name. But who knows, I'm sure whatever they're planning is going to be really clever, and we're not going to be able to predict any of it, really. Yeah, the only reason we knew this movie was going to have time travel in it is because, you know, plot set photos were leaked, so that's the only reason we really knew. And plus, it was obvious, I guess. You know, how else are you going to fix this? Time travel is the only way. But yeah, okay, who shall I talk about next? Let's talk about Bruce Banner, I think. I want to talk about the Hulk. So this was the third film in his, well, they said, you know, Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame are a 3-film story arc for the Hulk. So, you know, Ragnarok, we saw him, you know, he'd been on Sakaar since the events of Age of Ultron, when he left Earth on the Quinjet, and the Hulk just took over. He didn't want, you know, he didn't want Bruce to come back out, and he wanted control, and so he ended up on Sakaar becoming a gladiator, as we know. And then he sees Nat one more time on the monitor, and then that brings him out of, you know, yeah, well, brings Bruce out of hiding, basically. But then, you know, Bruce is like, you know, if I turn into the Hulk, I may not come back again, ever. Like, this is just what's happening. So, but then, you know, he does it, and then he stays the Hulk for a bit, and then Thanos kicks his ass, and then he ends up back on Earth, and then Hulk decides he does not want to come out and play. The whole movie, they're struggling with this, you know, issue of, like, you know, they can't seem to find a common ground of, like, you know, the Hulk just doesn't want to be used, or the Hulk is afraid of getting hurt because Thanos really messed him up really bad. So he's just kind of like, I'm not gonna be your toy anymore. So yeah, that was how Infinity War went, and then in Endgame, we, you know, it's Bruce Banner before the 5-year time jump. He even uses the Hulkbuster suit again, but basically, yeah, after the 5 years happens, we get that fabulous scene at the diner where we meet Professor Hulk, Smart Hulk, for the first time. Bruce Banner and the Hulk merged together, the brains and the brawn combined, for some just awesome moments. I loved this. Like, I know we just kind of gotten to a place where I mean, for me anyway, I was really starting to enjoy the Hulk. I love what they did with him in Ragnarok, and, you know, letting him speak a bit more. Like, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But now they've kind of, you know, like I just really love what they've done, and it was such the best way, I think, to just kind of, whether or not we'll see any more of the Hulk after this, it remains to be seen. But, you know, if this is the end of the Hulk story, then, like, it's a pretty good way to end it, I think. That he gets to be both, you know, smart and tough as all hell. And yeah, a lot of the funniest moments in the film, I think, come from Professor Hulk. That scene, the first thing he says in the diner, he's like, I know it's crazy, I'm wearing shirts now. Like, it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So it just makes so much sense that they would combine the two. You know, they're both struggling with each other, both at war with each other. You know, the fact that Banner was able to make the two halves of himself, you know, gel and finally cooperate. You know, I mean, he was experimenting on himself, obviously, to make them combine, but he got there, and it's, you know, they're living in harmony now, so it's great. It's good. Yeah, another great thing about the Hulk is the fact that, you know, this is kind of, if this is the end of his story, it's very fitting because, you know, he says in the movie that the radiation from the Infinity Stones is mostly gamma, and he even says it's like I was made for this. Like, this is his purpose right here, was to put on the gauntlet, use the stones, bring everyone back. Like, this was his destiny. And the fact that he was able to merge, like, who knows what would have happened if it had just been regular Hulk, whether or not they would have been able to effectively get him to actually do it. That would have been really interesting, but I'm glad that it was Smart Hulk that did it. There's like a really cool line, and I don't think this means anything, but if it does, it's really cool. There's a conversation that happens in the first Avengers film between Tony Stark and Bruce Banner when they're, you know, both working on trying to find where the Tesseract is, and all of that jazz, and they're just having a conversation, and Tony's like, well, that much gamma radiation should have killed you. And the conversation ends with basically like, you know, Bruce is just like, well, you know, the Hulk saved my life, for what? And then Tony Stark says, guess we'll find out. Here we are, 7 years later, and we know why. Yeah, it's just really, really awesome. I hope that's a kind of, I mean, I'm sure it's nothing, it's probably just a little thing, because there's a lot of quotes that have bearing on what's happened in Endgame and how everything's ended up, and it's really, really impressive. Again, expert writing from Marcus and McFeely. Yeah, I kind of wish we'd seen, like, I mean, the only bad thing about the Smart Hulk thing and everything that happened is the fact that we never really got to see the one thing I was hoping to have paid off, and that was the Bruce and Natasha love story that began in Age of Ultron. I know a lot of people online don't like it, didn't like it in the movie, didn't like the way it was written. I can understand that, I can, because it was very jarring at first to be like, oh, okay, I guess these two have a thing. Sure, why not? It's not hurting anyone. And I, for one, adore that scene, you know, where they're both talking at each other and telling each other why they both think they're monsters and how they can't, you know, Natasha wants to be with him, and Bruce is like, well, I can't because of who I am, and she's like, well, I know who I am, and I still need this, and I still, you know, she loved him, really. But we never, outside of that, and then the little glimpse in Ragnarok of him seeing her face, we never really get any more payoff on that, and it's a little disappointing, but, you know, I guess they just, probably didn't have enough time to really explore it, or just decided to let it go because a lot of people were a bit against it. And plus, it may have felt forced and crammed into a big film like this one, especially because, you know, I think for me, from the Marvel films, the MCU movies, they haven't been about the love story. The love story has always been inconsequential, I think. Unless, I mean, well, I mean, you know, it took Tony and Pepper a couple of movies to officially get together. Like, they didn't actually get together until Iron Man 2. And then, you know, Steve and Peggy, you know, they had their one chance in the first Cap, and then, you know, that was that, and then there was that weird thing with Sharon Carter, which just now seems really extra weird because, you know, maybe now they are actually related, but who knows. That's getting left behind, and now anyway, it doesn't matter, so it's fine. But yeah, like, they've never really, I feel like, you know, it's not about, I mean, sure, have a love interest, great, fine, why not? We all love love. But it's never been the driving force of any of these, and it's not, and they do not define characters in this universe by any means, so it's, I guess it's okay that they didn't touch on it, but I would have liked to have seen some acknowledgement, you know, just just because, you know, I want them to be happy. But now Natasha's dead and it's just very sad. Bruce's reaction, though, was very powerful. And the fact that he threw a bench across a lake in his grief, like, was, yeah, it was emotional. So we got something out of him. Obviously, I mean, he obviously loved her on some level. I mean, at least as, you know, a part of the family that they all shared together. And yeah, but anyway, it's okay. Yeah, I think that's Bruce Banner done. Who's up next? Oh gosh. Okay, let's talk about Thor. Okay, let's talk about Thor. My favorite Avenger. My absolute favorite. Always has been Avenger. This was not the Thor I think any of us were expecting, ever. Probably one of the biggest surprises of the entire film, the fact that after the 5-year time jump, we see Thor on New Asgard, which, fun fact, you see in the movie it says New Asgard, and then it says, in Norwegian, I'm guessing, or Scandinavian, welcome to Tonsberg, right? So Tonsberg is a very important village or city in Norway because it is actually the oldest one in the country. Dates back to 871 AD. The city of Tonsberg was also featured in 2 previous MCU movies. We first saw it in Thor 1. It's right at the start where Anthony Hopkins is narrating as Odin, talking about the battle between, you know, the original battle of Odin's army, the Aesir, and against the frost giants, Laufey's frost giants, and they're fighting in Tonsberg. So that's really awesome. And then Captain America, the First Avenger, right at the start of that movie, where we see the Tesseract for the first time, it's where Red Skull goes to get it. So the Tesseract was in Tonsberg. So that's pretty nifty. So we get to see that, again, and it's here in the movie, and that's where they've decided to settle New Asgard. Really great to see New Asgard as well, especially because one of the big hanging questions from Infinity War was like, well, where the fuck are the Asgardians, and like how many of them are left? Because, you know, Thanos killed, he killed half of them, but then how many other, like, how did any of the others survive, get away? Like, somehow they, Valkyrie, Korg, and Meek led the remaining survivors to Tonsberg in Norway, and they all settled there, and so thank goodness. Really good to see Valkyrie again, too, as well, and Korg and Meek, because Korg and Meek are 2 of my favourite characters in the whole MCU, so that was hilarious. But Thor is just not handling his failure, and like he thinks he's a failure, and I it's clear why, obviously, because he didn't go for the head. I love the fact that he said that right at the start of the film, after he kills Thanos, cuts his head off. Rocket's like, what did you do? And then Thor's just like, I went for the head. I mean, he doesn't say it like that, but that's how I said it in my head, because as soon as Rocket's like, what did you do? I'm like, he's going to say went for the head. He's going to say went for the head. And then he just said it. And I was like, yes, small victory. Because, he went for the head. Yeah. So he's not handling that. Because he could have stopped it if he'd gone for the head the first time. And then just on top of everything he's lost. I think the one thing that was keeping him going in Infinity War was just the fact that he needed to defeat Thanos. He needed to kill him. He needed to avenge Loki and avenge Heimdall and everybody that him and Thanos and his children, the Black Order, killed at the start of Infinity War. And that was just keeping him going. That's why he was just so determined to just get to Nidavellir, get Stormbreaker, and then get straight back to Earth, wherever, Thanos just happened to be, which was on Earth, and just kill him. So the fact that he failed, and it's the first time he's failed like that, he's always succeeded, and he makes a point of saying that in his speech, like, Thanos is just the latest in a long line of bastards, and he'll be the latest to feel my axe or feel my wrath. Fate wills it so. Something like that. That's the quote. But yeah, so he's just like, yeah, just not handling the fact that, yeah, he actually finally did fail. He lost, like, probably more than everybody, I think. So yeah, he's overweight. He's an alcoholic, clearly suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, which is awful. And it's kind of awful that they play it for laughs in the movie. I come down in such a mixed place about that, because I'm just like, well, I mean, on one hand, it does kind of negate, you know, the point and the I guess just the statement they were trying to make about PTSD in the MCU, and the fact that Tony Stark was suffering from it after the events of the Battle of New York in Iron Man 3. They dealt with that really well in that, and then here we have Thor, who's just kind of become the butt of the joke, because, like, we see he's, you know, they do a really good job at first of just showing how he's struggling with it. You know, he's, as soon as Bruce mentions Thanos, he just kind of crumbles, and he's like, don't you say that name. Like, he's like on the verge of tears, and he doesn't want anything to do with him. But then after that, it's just all jokes. It's just all jokes. Like, I love the fact that he looks like the dude, so Tony Stark calls him Lebowski. Like, that's fantastic. And you know, just some of the banter was really good and really funny, but then I think they probably went a bit too much on the humor with Thor. Like, I'm glad they kind of reined it in at the end. So from basically the start of the third act onwards, like the final battle, they really just kind of made him super serious Thor, like, let's kill him properly this time. And he'd suited up, and he was dual wielding fucking Mjolnir. Oh my god. That fucking hammer is the best thing in the world. Mjolnir and Stormbreaker in the final battle, and it's just epic as shit. So good. Yeah. And then Thor gets to, like, probably one of the best scenes, apart from the final battle stuff with Thor, which was probably my favourite part of the film in terms of him, as I kind of just admitted. But his scenes with Frigga on Asgard, literally the day she was going to die too, they were really, really nice. It was really nice to see him get a second chance to speak with her and you know, talk to her about just, you know, this is where I'm at, Mum, and I'm not doing well. And she was, you know, the wisest person on Asgard, as she says to him. And Rene Russo just nailed it. You know, she would have probably shot those scenes in a day, less, a few hours. But it was perfect. It was great. And it was so nice after all the heartache and trouble that Thor's been through, it was so great to actually have him get a chance to get some closure with one of those people that he's lost along the way. And especially someone like Frigga, because we haven't, you know, she's kind of been forgotten about because she died. She was the first one he lost, and in 2013, so it's just like, yeah, it was very appropriate and very fitting. I really loved it, so that was good. But yeah, Thor ends the movie joining the Guardians as Guardians of the Galaxy, as he says, and as we all love. And if he's not in Guardians Volume 3, I will riot. I will riot on the streets. I will start a lynch mob, and we will come for you, James Gunn. No, I'm sure he's going to be in the movie. It's quite obvious, I think. That'll be part of what they're doing. Like, he may not be in the entire thing, because then that might overshadow Guardians Volume 3, because, you know, that's already a set story that they're working on with introducing Adam Warlock and all of that stuff. But it looks like, you know, they're going to be looking for Gamora, because 2014 Gamora doesn't die at the end of Endgame. She escapes somehow, and I imagine it's probably because when Tony Stark snaps his fingers, he snaps away Thanos and everything to do with Thanos, so his ships and his army. But because Gamora defected and joined the heroes, I would say therefore that wherever her ship was, that she was using, didn't get disintegrated, didn't get turned to dust. She didn't get turned to dust, and she's taken off somewhere. I mean, she could just be on Earth, but you know, it looks like Star-Lord's trying to find her at the end of the film, and I really just want more scenes of Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth being hilarious together, because that is some great shit. I want more of that, please. I think we all want more of that. That would be fantastic. So bring on Guardians 3, I say. Okay, let's talk about, oh gosh. All right, let's talk about Natasha Romanoff then. I'm gonna get sad now. We're gonna get sad for a little bit. Scarlett Johansson is incredible. She's one of my favorite actresses. She always has been. And her time as Natasha Romanoff has just been just awesome and wonderful. And I'm really glad she's actually getting her own movie now to, you know, really kind of go deeper a bit with the character, I think, and tell a bit more of her story, because it's clearly going to be a prequel. I did see this morning, the morning of the day that this was filmed, they've started shooting Black Widow already, and the reports are saying that it might be taking place actually between the events of Civil War and Infinity War, so the 2 years when they're on the run. But who knows about that? I mean, because that would mean you would, maybe have to include Falcon and Captain America in that somehow? I mean, sure, I'm sure that's easy. They can make that work, but yeah, I don't know. But I just kind of want to see, you know, flashbacks to her being in the Red Room, and then, you know, have Clint Barton in this movie, please. Jeremy Renner needs to be in this movie, otherwise it doesn't make sense to me. And we need to find out whatever the hell happened on Budapest. And that was a sweet reference in the movie when they're traveling through space, and then Clint's just like, this is a long way from Budapest. Look on that face is priceless. And I really adored that little callback. That was one of my favorites. But yes, I'm excited to see what her movie is going to do and what Scarlett's going to do with her character. How further is she going to take her? So, I really enjoyed her performance in this movie too. In Endgame, she was great. You know, the end of her story basically, because she dies, and she really, like, similar to Tony Stark, she ends up in a completely different place to where she started. You know, she gives her life so everyone else can live, and that is the exact opposite of what she would have done, you know, 10 years ago or whatever, when she was, it would have been over 10 years ago, probably 15 years by that point in terms of the timeline. Yeah, she really did atone for her sins and make up. I think she wiped out the red in her ledger. But it was sad, you know, just that whole scene on Vormir with her and Clint. I mean, it was perfect, just brilliantly written, but it was just so sad because, you know, we didn't want either one of them to die, but I thought it was going to be Hawkeye, just in despite of the fact he's getting his own TV show, but, you know, she was getting her own movie, so I guess that's inconsequential, but, yeah, I felt like at first it made more sense for it to be Hawkeye, but then, no, like, I think about it more, I'm just like, yeah, no, I think it's more fitting that it's Natasha. Originally it was going to be Clint, though. Originally they were killing off Clint, but then they, mid-filming, they changed it to Natasha, so, and I just love the fact that they really just kind of, you know, it was really cruel of them to mess with us, to make it go back and forth between, you know, who's gonna die. One of them's dying, we don't know which, and they just kept fighting for it because they both are heroes and both wanted to give their lives to save everyone. But Natasha's just like, the last 5 years, this is all it's been about, getting to right here, getting to now, and bringing everyone back. That's what it's always been about. And she got to do it, and yeah, I just, fucking look on her face when she's like, let me go, it's okay, to Clint, and Clint's just struggling so much to keep it together, and he's desperately trying to hold on to her. It's, oh man. Yeah, supreme acting and writing right there, just, yeah. love it so much. But I just love how she was so determined just to get to that point, and she never gave up, she never stopped. You know, the 5 years following the decimation, she gave her time, her life already, to, you know, the service of the planet and leading the remaining heroes and Avengers, trying to, you know, stop any trouble wherever it's being caused, you know, make sure no one else dies, essentially. She just wants to, you know, stop anything else from happening. So she's leading all, you know, she's leading what? Nebula, Rocket, Okoye, Captain Marvel, and Rhodey. And it was really nice to see Natasha kind of get more of a leadership role in this film, and you know, what she did, and just get a really close look at how the snap affected her, and clearly she was devastated, and the way she reacted to Clint becoming Ronin was also devastating, and yeah, just, you know, but guess we'll just see what happens with her in her movie now. I don't know, that's probably gonna be emotional too, but I really hope that there's a scene, because I was thinking at the end of the film where Clint Barton and Wanda Maximoff are talking, and Clint's just like, I wish there was a way I could let her know that everything's alright and that everyone came back, and then Wanda's like, she knows, they both do. She's talking about Vision, and you know, Wanda's getting a series with Vision as well, but wouldn't it be cool as like a post-credit scene in Black Widow if Clint Barton just rocked up, like he time traveled? They have time travel now, this is possible. What if he just time traveled back to a certain point in his past where, you know, he could see Natasha maybe on Vormir, or maybe at Avengers HQ, or just somewhere in the 2023 timeline, and just, we don't have to have any dialogue exchange between them, we don't have to have, you know, a big epic reunion, we just need to have looks exchanged of like, you know, just a knowing look, just to be like, you know, everything works out. And that's why Natasha would say something like, it's okay, to Clint, because she knows it's gonna work. Like, that would be perfect. I would probably cry so much, but I think that would be beautiful if they did something like that. So fingers crossed. Get in touch, Marvel, I have ideas. Cool. Okay, Steve Rogers. Let's talk about Steve Rogers. One of the big things in this movie was how much screen time Cap got. He got so much to do. We all knew that was going to happen, because everyone was like, oh, we didn't get to see bearded Steve very much in Infinity War. And, you know, there was literally a reason why the original 6 Avengers was, you know, they all survived, so we could give them a final and proper send-off in Endgame, and that's what we got, and that's what Steve Rogers got. The perfect ending to his story. And just everything Chris Evans did and has done throughout all of these movies is just beyond anything we could have ever dreamed of and hoped for, and yeah, he just embodies Steve Rogers so perfectly, and I'm really gonna miss seeing that on the screen. I really, really am. I just love the way he carries himself, like, and you know, the way he speaks, his mannerisms, like, just, it's a very physical and nuanced, and like the subtlety to his performance, and just, it's just beautiful, like the way he does it. So my hat's off to Chris Evans for just bringing it for the past, you know, 8 years playing this character. But yes, he finally got his happy ending with Peggy, and Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely have said that, you know, Cap was Peggy's husband the whole time, because in Winter Soldier we don't actually see a photo of Peggy with her husband. We see a photo of her with her kids, but not with her husband. And then, you know, there's that scene where, you know, Steve and Peggy are talking, and all of a sudden Peggy just kind of snaps, because she's clearly suffering from Alzheimer's or something of the like, and she's just seeing Steve, and what does she say? She's like, you're so young, I think. Yeah, Steve, you're alive, you came back. It's been so long, so long. And I just feel like that's just such a cleverly written, like, good choice of words, because you're alive, you came back, it's been so long. Like, especially the you're alive, you came back. So that for me is her flashing to the moment in, I don't know, 1944, 45, 46, whenever it was, where Steve Rogers decided to come back and be with his girl, and she sees him for the first time. That was her flashing back to that, without a doubt, because, you know, here's Peggy Carter practically on a deathbed, seeing and speaking to a young-looking Steve Rogers, who looks pretty much the same as he would have the moment he would have gone back in time to be with her. Because the Steve she lived a life with at this point would be really old, like the one we see sitting on the bench at the end of the film. But, you know, so I think seeing young Steve triggered her into going, you're alive, you came back. Like, it's, yeah, that's exactly what that is, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Don't even try. Yeah, I also really just have to say the fact that the song that they dance to at the end of the film, It's Been a Long, Long Time by Harry James and his orchestra, is the exact same song that Nick Fury is playing in Steve Rogers' apartment in Winter Soldier when he's hiding from Hydra. And they, you know, they can't talk out loud because people are listening everywhere. That's the same fucking song. Just, ugh. And the lyrics of that song are just so, like, beautiful, and it's just such a wonderful love story about, you know, these two lovers who just exactly like Peggy and Steve, and it's just so fitting. I mean, it's been a long, long time. The title speaks for itself, like, really. So seeing him getting to finally have that happy ending is just exactly what he deserved, after a life as a soldier, and, you know, being selfless. He definitely had earned that. Speaking of being selfless, probably the best moment in the entire film, and one of my favourite moments, is Steve being worthy of Mjolnir. This was not even inside the sphere, the galaxy of things I thought were possible in the MCU that we were going to get. Never in my wildest fucking dreams did I ever think we would actually see this. I can't. It's so just, you know, it was cool enough to see that Thor, in 2013 Asgard, summoned Mjolnir and he was still worthy. That was really nice. That was beautiful. I'm like, oh, okay, great, Mjolnir's back in the game. This is good. We will hold on to this and treasure it, because obviously, you know, Mjolnir will have to go back. Well, maybe not. But, you know, well, Steve does return him the hammer, yes, at the end of the film. But the fact that during the final fight against Thanos, we see Thanos pinning Thor down on the battlefield, and then we just see Mjolnir lifting up off the ground and then being thrown, and then it gets called back, and Steve fucking Rogers, Captain America, catches the hammer. Captain America threw the hammer, and then he's summoning the lightning and, like, throwing it along the ground and, like, just going, oh, he's using the shield and the hammer and just, and then just Thor's reaction. I knew it. Like, I got nothing on that. I cannot say anything. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's perfect. Just so good. And the fact that they referenced the scene in Age of Ultron when, you know, they were all trying to see who was worthy, and still is to this day one of my favourite scenes in Age of Ultron. One of my favourite scenes in the entire MCU, to be honest, because it's just so funny. Yeah, that moment where Steve almost lifts the hammer up, and then Thor's just like, ooh, yeah. Yeah, you know it. It's great. Oh, just, yeah. And then yeah, there's that exchange where Thor's just like, give me the big one, you have the little one. And they switch Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. Like, okay, this is happening now. I can't believe this. It's literally too good to be true. But of course, he was always worthy. Not surprised at all. Gosh, what else can I talk about? Yeah, okay, well, let's talk about him just leaving. Returning the stones, he decided to go and take all the stones back. Makes sense. Great. Of course. Why not? And, you know, because he's the only one that can take Mjolnir back, and Thor's just decided to fuck off with the Guardians, so that's fine. Cheers, Thor. No worries. I got this. Yeah, he wouldn't have been like that at all. But, yeah, we see him say goodbye to Bucky. Bucky knows. They've had a conversation off screen where Steve's like, I'm not coming back, Buck. I'm not. I'm done. I need to... The fight's over. I need to go home. And home is where Peggy is. So, because otherwise, how do you explain that conversation that they have? And I love the fact that they reference First Avenger and, you know, said, you know, don't do anything stupid until I get back. How can I? You're taking all the stupid with you. And then, you know, for Bucky to just be like, I'm going to miss you. Or I'm going to miss you, pal. Or Steve, or whatever word he chooses. But it's like, I'm going to miss you. And Steve's just like, it's going to be okay, Buck. And, you know, you see Bucky smile, and then that's that. And, like, and then just the way he was when Steve was sitting on the bench and, you know, he told Sam to go over to him. Like, he didn't go up and go, oh my God, Steve, what have you done? Like, Bucky's his best friend. Like, yes, I did feel there was something missing between the Bucky and Steve dynamic in this movie. Granted, yes, there wasn't enough time. Again, time was a constraint. I'm so glad this movie was 3 hours, because if you'd have gotten rid of anything else, like, it would not have, just wasn't going to work. But, so that's just, yeah, I don't know, I have to accept it. But he clearly knew that Steve wasn't coming back, so that's the only way you can really explain it. But I am really happy that they chose Falcon, that Steve Rogers chose Sam Wilson to be the next Captain America. I think that fits so much better than it being Bucky, although it would have been really cool to see Sebastian Stan suit up and carry the shield. I'm totally fine that it's Sam, because Sam, for me at least, embodies the ideals of Captain America a lot more than Bucky does, and it just makes so much more sense, because they're both very alike in terms of, you know, they're both war heroes, war veterans, and they're all about that kind of life and doing the right thing and knowing what's good and true and all of that stuff. Just, yeah, it just makes so much sense. So I'm really excited to see the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series, which may get a new title, who knows, but they've also just announced that they're bringing Sharon Carter and Zemo back into the fold for that series. 6 episodes coming out soon on Disney+. Please sponsor me. Yeah, that's gonna be freaking amazing. Can't wait for that. But also just, yeah, sad that this is the end of the road for Steve. But as a nice little thought, just imagining the look on his face when he would have seen the Red Skull on Vormir when he took the Soul Stone back. I would love that as a deleted scene, please, and thank you, Marvel Studios. That would be great. And then also trying to put the ether back into Jane would have been very amusing, but oh, we'll never know. We will never know. Imaginations can run wild with that, and I think that's probably what they intended. They're just like, all right, let's just go with this. It's fine. It's totally fine. Cool. All right. Time to get real sad now, everybody. Just get your tissues out. I should probably grab my Disney tissues because, you know, Disney makes me cry. Makes everybody cry. Because we're going to talk about Tony Stark now. Before I wrap up this video, I think. Robert Downey Jr., you are an incredible human being and a brilliantly talented actor. and I hope you get an Oscar nomination for playing Tony Stark, because your performance in this movie was just astounding, and probably my favorite portrayal on screen of Tony Stark yet. Like, just again, perfect. Perfect is literally the best word to describe Avengers Endgame. Perfect. Oh man. And, you know, losing Tony Stark was just the way it was gonna go in the end. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just rough. It's really rough, because this is the man who started the entire thing. The reason that we're all here, the reason I'm here, sitting, talking to you, if you're listening, watching this, is because of him. Because of Iron Man, because of Jon Favreau, because of Robert Downey Jr., really. It's all because of them that, you know, this entire universe exists. And that was my favorite thing about the funeral. If you can have a favorite thing about a funeral. Was the fact that when the camera panned back over everyone, and I have said this a million times in other different things and to a lot of people, so if you're someone I know and I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, but it's a good point, so I need to keep bringing it up. It's not just showing everybody who he saved, you know, everyone that he gave his life to so that they could live. They're showing you every single person and character here, and film franchise really, that just exists because of Iron Man and because of Tony Stark, because of Robert Downey Jr. Like, he's died, he's left, and what a legacy has he left behind. Like, I cry so much when they do that shot of showing everyone. It just destroys me every single time, because it just means so much. You know, it's just, I can't really put into words how incredible it is. Like, there's never been a film franchise that's done this before. Nor will there be one again that does this like this, and this well, forever, for a long time. Like, and just to give your character that send-off of just going from the man who would not make the sacrifice play, the man who would, you know, rather, you know, cut the wire than lay down on it. You know, go from that to just him getting a chance to have his own family. He gets to have a daughter. He gets to be married to Pepper finally. And she tells him to stop. She's like, one of the greatest failures, or one of the few failures of my life has been trying to get you to stop doing this. Because he's invented time travel, and he's like, I could stop. Tony fucking Stark finally says, I could stop. I could not. I'm done. Like, he doesn't want to. Like, there's a huge part of him that does not want to now that he finally has, you know, his wife, and he finally has a daughter. He finally has his family, and he has so much to lose now that he's just like, I've done so much for everyone. I should be allowed to take this for myself. I should be allowed to have this. And he gets that. He does. Like, he gets 5 years to, you know, spend, you know, being a family man, being a father and a husband. And it's just, we don't get to see most of that, obviously, but, you know, we see some pretty good highlights, and we meet Morgan Stark, and she's the most beautiful thing. So adorable. They found the perfect actor to play her. She's just wonderful. I love you 3000 is probably the best quote from the entire film. And it just makes me cry so much, because it's the last words we ever hear him say. Because it's during, you know, he recorded a message in case things went wrong, and he was like, oh, who am I kidding? Everything's gonna work out fine, exactly the way it's supposed to. And then he looks at Morgan and says, I love you 3000, and it's just, oh God. I die. I crumble. I'm crying right now. Oh, fuck. Yeah. He gives his life. He sacrifices what he found so that everyone else can live. And the way it's done in the final scenes where, you know, this epic battle is going on and Captain Marvel's there and she's trying to stop Thanos and Captain America and Thor are trying to stop Thanos and no one's succeeding and, you know, Thanos almost wins, but then, you know, Doctor Strange looks to Tony and just holds up a single finger to be like, this is it, this is the one. Because earlier in the fight, Tony was like, tell me this is it. Tell me this is where we win. And he's like, and Strange is like, if I tell you, then it's not going to happen. And then, so the moment where he holds his finger up, Tony, the look on Tony Stark's face, the realization, he's like, we've done it. Everything that happens from now on is what's supposed to happen and what will. And, you know, he doesn't even stop for a second. He knows he's going to die. He knows he can't wield these stones, and yet he puts them on. He doesn't care. I mean, I don't know if it's he doesn't care about the consequences, he doesn't care he's going to die, but it's more just like, yeah, it's whatever it takes is the tagline of this film for a reason. And he knew putting those stones on that it would just bring everyone's already brought back, but it would at least, God, I'm getting caught up in this, you know, he would at least save the day, and it was the only way to stop Thanos at this point, you know, because if he didn't kill Thanos, then Thanos would have eventually gotten the stones back and killed them all anyway, because this was the only way. This was the way Strange foresaw. So he had to live in Infinity War for him to die now in Endgame. So it's just the best character arc of anyone and anything ever. And I'm gonna miss him so much. But what a legacy. And look, one of the best things too about Tony Stark in this film is the fact that he got to see his dad. Just like Thor got to speak to his mum one last time, Tony got to speak to his dad one last time. And it was a really beautiful scene because they were both, you know, Howard was about to become a dad and Tony had already become a dad. And so they bonded over that and got to have a conversation they never otherwise would have had, and it was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And, you know, he basically realized now that he's a father, he's like, well, you know, clearly you did the best you could, you know, you tried. I can see that you're trying, and I know now how hard it is as a father, how to balance the fight with the family. How do you do that? He figured it out, and they talked about it, and it's just perfect. And then we get to see Jarvis, like live action Jarvis from Agent Carter, James Darcy reprising his role. So awesome. First time a character from the TV series has appeared in the movie. Any of the movies. Just, yeah, brilliant. But I need to stop talking about Tony Stark because I'm struggling to handle losing him. It's been hard because I didn't think it would affect me this much, but it's just... And then seeing the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, that's gonna break me too. When I watch that. That's gonna be rough. But it's gonna be good. Okay, alright, let's lighten the mood a bit as I try and wrap up this video because we're clocking in at nearly an hour and 15 minutes. So if you're still here, thank you. I love you 3,000. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. This is just, I love doing these videos. I really do. Please comment below if you're enjoying it, or if, you have any tips and advice you want to give me if you feel I need to maybe change things up. But if you're enjoying what I'm saying, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, let me know. Connect with me, please. Would love and appreciate. Okay, some of my favorite things in the movie, apart from all the stuff that I've mentioned, basically everything that happens in 2012 New York. We get to see Loki again, which, you know, made me very happy. This man. This guy, 2012 Loki, right here. We get to see him again, and being awesome. Oh no, he's just falling down. Oh yeah, I'll fix you up later, it's fine. We get to see him again, you know, in Avengers, sorry, Stark Tower, it was Stark Tower then. And the aftermath of, you know, capturing him, and then everything just goes wrong with the time travel. With, you know, the Hulk's hilarious in this because he has to take the stairs, and then him taking the stairs ends up screwing up future Tony and future Scott Lang's plans for getting the Tesseract, and then Loki ends up escaping with it. So that's where his TV show is basically going to come from. The fact that, yes, Infinity War, Loki died. Kaputs. You know, me thinking about that was rough as well, because I'm just like, oh, surely not, surely not, surely not. I mean, it was emotional and it was hard to watch, and I hated it because it didn't make sense to his character, because he can't. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. I've done it before. But yes, that Loki is dead, and now we have 2012 Loki, who is, you know, still alive and living in an alternate timeline to the main timeline, because he has the Tesseract, and that, you know, because of what the Ancient One says about the Infinity Stones, you know, they need to be, you know, they cannot be removed from the main timeline without things going to hell. So his series is going to be dealing with that, I think. So that's super exciting. We got a freaking another callback to Thor: The Dark World, where he imitates Captain America using one of his illusions, and then that obviously also sets up one of the coolest and most epic superhero one-on-one fights ever done, and that's Captain America versus Captain America. Or should I say America's ass versus America's ass. Just that line, like the fact that Tony Stark was checking out his ass is just brilliant. Scott Lang was checking out his ass. Like, I would really love, you know what I'd really love to see? Like a Captain America fan club, and it's fucking Phil Coulson, Scott Lang, and Tony Stark just all talking about how much they love Steve Rogers. Like, I think that needs to be a thing. Coulson would be president, of course. There's no question. But then just seeing the two of them fight, and then just the way he uses, you know, Bucky against his past self, and, you know, the reference to Peggy with the picture on the ground, and the fact that Steve Rogers, the man who once told Tony Stark off for language in Age of Ultron, is in this film just cursing up a blue streak because he says shit all the time. He says ass, like bitch. I'm pretty sure he says bitch at some point. Probably does. But yeah, it's just hilarious. Like, Steve's just done. He's had enough. I'm just like, well, cool. I'm just gonna react to this now. And then the whole, I can do this all day, and he's like, yeah, I know, because he knows himself, and he's just, oh my god, it was a dream come true. And that was something I never thought we'd get. Like, you know, that is like the definition of things I didn't think I needed until I got them. And that is one of them. It was epic and brilliant. Yeah, and I loved Tony and Scott Lang working together. Like, Paul Rudd and Rob Downey Jr. bounce off each other really nicely, so I would have loved to have seen more of the two of them, and I like that he called him Pissant as well. That was funny. Yeah, that was just, yeah, brilliant. What else can I talk about? Oh yeah, the other little Loki thing we got in 2013 Asgard was also awesome. Just a quick little shot of him in his cell, throwing his little thing up in the air, and then Thor and Rocket are just sneaking in the background. Yeah, just subtle, but fantastic. Loved it. My favorite part about Morag in 2014 was seeing Star-Lord singing Come Get Your Love from the start of Guardians 1, and the fact that the music cuts out right at the perfect time, and then we hear him singing it. Oh my god. I couldn't stop laughing for like 5 minutes. It was so good. And just Rhodey and Nebula's reactions. Just, you know, so he's an idiot. Yeah. Just perfect. Perfect. With time travel too, the Hulk I just really thought was hilarious. Like the scene where they're testing it out for the first time was just awesome. Hulk's humor of just like, you know, we're good, and then he's like, time travel. I see this as an absolute win. Like, just nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Absolutely love that. And then when they're, you know, Rhodey and Scott are listing off all the different movies that, you know, talk about time travel, and, you know, Nebula and Bruce are just like, well, you're all wrong. None of these movies are right. And if Tony Stark had been there for that conversation, he would have said the same thing, because, you know, earlier in the film, he tells Scott Lang, he's like, you're basing your idea of time travel off of Back to the Future. And then literally Scott Lang then later on says, so Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit. I mean, that's blasphemy, because Back to the Future is amazing, but just, it was a really cool way of setting up the time travel rules for the MCU by just negating all of these movies. Man, if Peter Parker had been there for that scene, it would have been delicious. Just all of the old movie references, just spot on. And then the fact that he just says, Scott Lang just says Die Hard for no reason. Like, why not? Die Hard's a great movie, sure. It's not a time travel film, and that's the joke, but yeah, fine. We'll go with it. It's great. It's fine. And then I think for the final battle as well, just the moments of, you know, Sam Wilson saying, on your left. The first line of dialogue from a Russo brothers Marvel film, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I got nothing to say. I can't. It's perfection. Just perfection. And yeah, and Steve Rogers finally saying, Avengers Assemble, as everybody comes, after they come through all the portals and they've all assembled, and then Steve says the words, and then they charge, and just, you cannot take the smile off my face. I didn't think we were going to get him saying it, because I kind of felt like, you know, in Age of Ultron, when they kind of touched on it, that was a bit of a tease and, you know, cheeky. But to hear him actually say it, and he's holding Mjolnir in one hand and the shield in the other, and it's just... And then when they charge, Tony Stark is, like, Iron Man is, like, out in front slightly. It's just perfect, you guys. Just perfect. This movie is just 10 out of 10 out of 10. What else can I say? Joe Russo playing a gay man was also very good, and I'm disappointed in all the people that have backlashed against that. I understand why. I do, because, you know, Marvel are taking some really small steps when they should be taking bigger ones in terms of representation and in terms of equality and diversity and all of that. They're getting there. I mean, Black Panther was just perfect as well. Another really, really good movie, and, you know, in terms of representation of the beauty of African culture, it was just wonderful, you know, and I can't wait to watch the second film. That's just going to be brilliant. But yeah, this random guy that Joe Russo is playing is the first openly gay character in the MCU. And it's fine. I think it's fine, just because I just love the way it's just nonchalant, you know, the whole thing. It's just like blasé, like, you know, he's like, you know, my job, his job, he just says his, and that's all it is. That's all you need, because it's normal, and that's what it should be. It should be normal. It shouldn't be like, I'm waving a rainbow flag, look at me. Like, you know, I'm queer, I understand. I do. I am proud, and I have so much pride, but I think the best way to kind of go about representation, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, is the fact that you just need to make it normal, because it is normal. I mean, well, what the fuck is normal, really? When it comes down to it, fuck normal. But, you know, just to make it real and not a big deal, because it shouldn't be a big deal. Because a man and a woman being together is not a big deal. Two women being together is not a big deal. Two men being together is not a big deal. It's just the way life is. It's just the way humanity is. So that's why I really, really liked that they included that, and they decided to do that. They made that choice. And then afterwards they announced that there's an existing character in the universe that is actually gay, and they'll be coming out at some point. So fingers crossed it's Captain Marvel. Really fingers crossed. Because I'm already in love with her, so I would definitely love a bit more of her in that sense, just because I feel like that fits who Carol Danvers is. There's a vibe. But honestly, I'll be happy no matter which character it is. It would just be cool for me if it was her. What else? Stan Lee cameo. Let's talk about Stan Lee. Yeah. So Stan didn't actually get to see Endgame, which is very sad. Very, very sad. But he did get to film this cameo, and I believe it was his last one, because I don't think there's a a Far From Home cameo coming. But who knows, I'm sure there'll be some Stan reference in that. Whatever it is, it's going to be wonderful. But yeah, his younger self, you know, driving in a car, bumper sticker says "Nuff said," and he's like, "Hey man, make love, not war." Simple, funny, great. It's all you need. And yeah, that's it. That's the last one. So it was really sweet to see him. They put him in 1970 like that. That's cool. It's fitting. That's when he was like, you know, the Marvel heyday of his career, like just writing comics and creating characters. 1970 was, you know, just towards the end of the golden age of comics, I suppose. But, you know, he spent the 60s creating most of these characters that we watch in these movies now. So, yeah, perfect, fitting, very good. What else can I talk about before I wrap up? I guess, I don't know. There's a couple of little things I want to mention, but I think I need to wrap this up because it's going on for an hour and a half. But if you want to know more, you know, listen to the monthly at Winifred's. We did a spoiler cast as well. So if there's anything I didn't mention in this video, I've mentioned it there. Go check that out on iTunes. Leave us a review. I would love you guys if you did that. Thank you. Or, you know, comment below and we can have a conversation. That also works very well. But to quote a wonderful TV show that had a wonderful musical episode, I'm talking about Buffy, of course, where do we go from here? Far From Home is the next film in the MCU. There have been conflicting reports saying it's the last film of Phase 3, the first film of Phase 4. Don't know what it is. It kind of looks like an epilogue to Endgame because it's kind of really wrapping up Tony Stark's story. I feel like this is the end, like it's the epilogue of his story. He's gone now, and this is Peter Parker is stepping up, and he's like, the world needs the next Iron Man. Like, yeah, and just the tributes to Tony in that trailer are just really beautiful. And obviously the movie is going to be, apparently it takes place minutes after Endgame ends, so it's going to start very emotional. I won't wear makeup that day. That wee bad. But yes, that's coming. And then they haven't announced anything else, and I'm guessing it'll be either at Comic-Con or it'll be at San Diego Comic-Con, that is, or at D23. Marvel Studios will make their big announcement for their Phase 4 slot, what they're doing. There's release dates, but they haven't attached movies to them at all. But we know the ones that that are just most likely to occur: Guardians Volume 3, of course, Doctor Strange number 2, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, I'm sure is a sure thing. I imagine we'll also get an Ant-Man 3 along the line, considering everyone's reaction to Paul Rudd in Endgame. And then, you know, 2 other films that are probably, I think they're more closer to happening, would be The Eternals with Angelina Jolie. I think Richard Madden was just added to the cast, and Kumail Nanjiani's going to be in that as well, so that's shaping up really cool. And then Black Widow, the prequel that it is now because she's no longer with us, which has just commenced filming, so that's super exciting. I imagine that is going to be released next year in May of 2020, and so well it should. Natasha Romanoff, Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow deserve that prime summer slot. So I really hope that's when it comes out, and I hope it makes all the money, and I'm sure it will, because everyone is going to be, you know, still riding the Endgame wave, I think, even though it's going to definitely calm down, you know, because this is the Infinity Saga, it's done. You know, that's why I'm like saying now, well, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? What's the next big story that Marvel Studios, what Kevin Feige, Kevin, what are you working on? I can't wait to find out. So I think I'm gonna leave it there. That's all. They're the big things I just wanted to talk about in terms of Endgame. I loved this movie so much, if you can't tell. It's perfect. 10 out of 10 across the board. It nailed everything, and it just... I love it 3000. Just, that's it. There it is. Okay, again, apologies, A, that this took so long to come out, and B, it's an hour and a half long, but that's what it is. And if you're still here, again, thank you. You guys are the real heroes for listening to me prattle on about my favorite movie of the year, possibly one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It means so much. So thank you. Comment below, let me know your thoughts. And let's count down now until Spider-Man Far From Home. Just over a month away now. Get excited, guys. Okay, I've been a Kendall Richardson. Thank you so much for listening, and you just experienced non-scripted rambling.